All right, so this is Alan. We're back working with the Dwarf female warrior from Atlantis Miniatures. And in the previous session, we got her base skin tone down and we got the layers built up. So got some of the highlights sketched out. We also did a tattoo on her left arm. And in this video, we're going to begin to add some tone to the skin as well as start to shade it and then move on to the next part of the miniature. So I'm starting off with Pink Flesh by Scale Color. So this is a flesh tone that has a little bit of a red color to it. Now for our previous flesh tones, this was about as thin as we got. But for this one, I'm actually going to go quite a bit thinner. And that's because I want to use this as a glaze. And I'm just going to paint over everything that we've already painted on the skin. And I know that sounds a little scary because we just took quite a bit of time to build everything up. But the idea is that this is going to be thin enough that it doesn't actually totally cover what we've done. It just starts to tint the colors. So we're just going to patiently build this up. So I'll load my brush. I'm actually going to tap it on a piece of paper towel to take most of the excess off, because I don't want this to act like a wash where all of the paint just runs down into the recesses. I really want to control the flow of paint. And if you get a little too much on there, just dry your brush a little bit and then wick it off. One of the tricks with this is the first couple layers that you do, it's going to be really hard for you to see much happening. So you got to be patient and do this in several passes. Also make sure to let each layer completely dry before you do the next one. So not only is this tinting the skin, but it's actually starting to help bring our layers together, because by putting this uniform tone over everything, kind of evens out the layers, the highlights, the low points, starts to bring everything a little bit closer. You still get the variation from the layers we first built up, but it just starts to blend them together a little bit. So I've done several passes of glazing the pink flesh on there, and hopefully you can see that some of the layers are starting to blend together a little bit. Her skin doesn't look quite as pale and washed out. I'm going to start adding a little bit of the Indian shadow to this, and we're going to now start to do some shading for her skin. This is going to bring in more of the red tones and also add depth to the shadow areas. You'll notice I didn't add this directly into the paint. The reason being is when you add dark paint to light paint, it can change the color very, very quickly. So I want to add it in little bits because I want to make sure that I don't make too drastic of a cut or a transition between one to the other. And again, keep the paint very thin. Now, as I said before, when we were highlighting, we were moving our brush in the direction of the raised areas. But now we're shadowing, we're adding a darker color. So we're going to go the opposite way. So I'm going to move the brush towards the areas that I want to be darker. necessarily want her lips to be too much darker, but I'm going to glaze over her lips a few times, add a little bit of color to them so they stand out just a little bit from the face. I don't want to go too far. I don't want it to look like she's wearing makeup. This particular dwarf warrior doesn't strike me as somebody who applied her makeup carefully before going to battle to destroy the orcs. So I don't want to give that impression. So just a little bit of a pink tint to the lips is enough.